Hello guys, welcome to my channel. This is the very first of a series of videos of the quadratic function, how can we use it, what we can extract from it, and especially what should we know about the quadratic function. So let's start with this. Before we continue, some terminology. We have the quadratic function, that the quadratic function is an expression that is written in the form ax squared plus bx plus c is a function of x. So the function of x is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. There are some requirements that we need to fulfill in order to make sure that this is actually a quadratic function. These are that a, b, and c should belong to a set of the real numbers. And also, something that is very important is that the value of a is different to 0. A specifically needs to be different to 0. B and C can be equal to 0. They can have null values, but that's not the case for the value of a. If a is equal to 0, then what would happen is that we would have a first degree equation, a linear equation, or a constant equation, or no equation in other case. So this is something that is important when we consider the quadratic function. It's worth to mention that the equation notation is also valid, and it's something that you are going to find through your study of this subject. Now that we took a look to the concept of the quadratic function, let's compare it to the concept of the quadratic equation. Despite they may sound similar, they are a little bit different. The case of the quadratic equation is going to be represented by the ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Now, in this case, what we have is an equation that is equal to 0, and why we should know something about this equation, or how to manipulate this equation, or how to handle this equation. Well, the reasons for us to do that is that this equation, finding the roots of this equation, is going to take us to something that is called the zeros of the function. What are the zeros? The zeros are the x values, or more general, the input values that make that the equation or the function better returns a value of 0. Finding the roots of the quadratic equation, finding the roots of those equations is going to take us to the zeros of the function. Finding the roots of the quadratic equation is going to take us to the roots, or the zeros better, of the quadratic function. So that's why we need to manipulate, or we need to know the different techniques that we have to manipulate this equation in order to find its roots. So what do we need to know about the quadratic function? One of the really cool things about the quadratic function is the graph that it produces. As we can see here, this is how a quadratic function looks like. As we can see, depending on certain properties from the function, from the formula, we are going to see that some functions are going to grow up to the infinite and they are going to have a minimum value, and some other functions are going to grow down to the negative infinite, and in those cases they are going to have a maximum value. And we're going to see how can we extract from the function, from the right-hand formula that we have for the function, different important points, like for example the points where the function crosses the x-axis, the points where the function crosses the y-axis, the points where the function acquires its minimum or maximum values. And well, these are some special features that we are going to use a lot if we want to plot a function like this one. As finding the values of those special points that I previously mentioned is so important, then what you need to study in order to understand the quadratic function is how to find these different values. So the second point of the things that we're going to study is find the zeros and vertex. What are these? The zeros, as I said previously, are the points where the function is going to get a value equal to 0. This means these are the points where the function crosses the x-axis. So this is one of the things that we are going to learn how to do. And also we are going to learn how to calculate the point where the function acquires its maximum or minimum value. This is called the vertex, right? This point where the trend of the function changes is the one that is known as vertex, and is something that we're going to learn how to estimate. This task of learning how to calculate the vertex is going to take us to a position where we need to understand the standard form. We have a general form. In the general form, we have that the function x is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. This is the general form. Now, there is an alternative form to represent the same function that is known as the standard form. And this standard form can be represented as the function of x is equal to a times x minus p squared plus q. And passing from the general form to the standard form and vice versa from the standard form to the general form is an important task that we're going to learn, because especially this one is going to be very useful for different purposes. Like, for example, calculating the vertex, this value p and this q represent actually the vertex. Also, to draw the function, let's consider the case in which we have the data. The data could be, for example, the vertex and some other point. And after we have those, we have to calculate the function that crosses those 2 points. In that case, what we're going to do is that we should use this form that we have here. So, important competence to learn. Which takes us to a fourth skill that you should have. This other skill basically is to form the quadratic function from the vertex and a given point. So this is another skill that you are expected to have when you consider yourself as a person with some expertise about the quadratic function. So I hope that you enjoyed the introduction. This is a wonderful topic. It's something that is extremely interesting and really enjoyable to study. It's a cool topic. In the next video, we are going to start by trying to figure out how to draw the basis of the plot of the quadratic function, the roots of the quadratic function that are the zeros. Alright, we are going to check different methods to get to know if they exist, because that's the very first question that you need to answer, and what are their values. So see you in the next video.